Welcome to Commander Community, the show where we talk about everything beyond the tabletop, the people, the places, the things, for Magic the Gathering's most popular format. Brought to you by Star City Games.
I'm Anthony Alongi.
And I'm Sheldon Menery. In each episode, we'll address one or more hot-button issues in the Commander community. We'll talk about Commander's current events and the intersection of our hobby with life in general. Food, booze, TV, nerdcore culture. Anything is on the table.
Anything at all, really.
Yep.
And I am still 100% likely to ask Sheldon, if you have a moment, may I bend your ear with the gentle query, what the hell is wrong with you?
I am 100% likely to not have an answer. So, preview season is one of the most exciting times of the year, and we're smack dab in the middle of it.
Smack dab?
Yep.
No, Wizards of the Coast did outdo themselves this time on announcement day, because there was more than just the first round of Zendikar Rising previews.
Yeah, they also showed off the lineup for the first quarter of 2021 and beyond, really, letting us know about the Viking-themed Kaldheim set, followed by Strixhaven School of Mages. It kept getting better as they revealed the replacement for the 2021 core set, which is the Magic D&D crossover Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. Mm-hmm. After that, there'll be two Innistrad sets, not one, two Innistrad sets. One featuring werewolves, one featuring vampires. Then they capped it off with announcing that there's going to be Time Spiral Remastered, featuring both old bordered and new bordered time-shifted cards. All in all, it's a pretty saucy lineup.
Are we going to have the product overload discussion again?
I don't know. Do you want to? Do you need to?
No.
Will it be a cathartic moment for you if we do?
No, actually, no, it won't. And I certainly would. Even let's say we lived in the perfect world where Wizards hung on my every word.
Yes.
and they were like, oh no, Anthony doesn't like all these products coming out. I know. I'm sure it would still be about 2.5 years before we'd see the impact of that.
Right.
So I get it. There's still a lot of products. I'm still being cautious in what I buy and not, and scaling back slightly, but not, I'm still here. I'm still buying product. And these are wonderful sounding products. It's not the sets and boosters that they sell. I think the frequency is about the same. Uh-huh. It's a lot of the other stuff that's around it that also comes out, right? That we're gonna start one thing, and then in the middle of that, a secret layer is gonna come out. Like all these different little things that come out that just distract. That's gonna be my major problem probably for 2021, but it's not a problem that Wizards has to share if they don't want to.
Well, is it really? I think we've just graduated. I think you and I have definitely talked about this. That we've just graduated past the point where the audience is small. Mm-hmm. Right. And you just release for a small audience so they can get everything. Where now it's just throw as much out there as they can because the audience is so immense and you want there to be something for everybody, but you don't have to have it all be in one set. Right.
No, it is a fair market strategy. Yeah. We'll see where it leads. I will say I am completely stoked about the D&D crossover.
Sure.
I've got several friends who don't track, Magic sets as much, but they do play Magic. And when I told them about the D&D crossover, they also play D&D. They were really thrilled about it. Really, very, very happy to hear about that. It makes a lot of sense, and that's probably the set that makes me excited. It also makes me excited. I will do a slight plug for my wife, who writes paranormal romance, and including a series that focused on vampires and a series that focused on werewolves. And so when I saw this, I kind of thought, maybe this is finally the set that gets my wife after 20 years into Magic. Spoiler alert, it won't be.
Or maybe we have a Magic D&D MJ triple crossover.
Maybe I can get her to be a guest on our show. I can pull a string or two. Right. see if she'll join us.
Right.
In all seriousness, no. I saw when I saw that those were the two being featured, it was kind of cute in my mind. How those two and they're and they make sense. I mean, they both explore aspects of human nature,
right?
That I think that are very compelling to people. So it makes sense that they would pick those two. But yeah, I'm very excited about those. Now, that's not to say I'm not excited by the other sets, Sheldon.
Sure.
And I do want to point out that I'm aware that it's possible that you may have something to do with one or more of the other sets.
Yes.
Can you confirm or deny these rumors?
I can confirm, or I could deny them.
Okay. Which would you like to do today?
I mean, if you want me to do both, I will.
Okay. First, you should deny and then confirm because it'll sound better.
Yeah, I was on the Strixhaven vision design team during my time out there at Wizards of the Coast, as well as having some input on Kaldheim. And definitely played with some of the Kaldheim cards as we built our decks for FFL and things like that.
Did you have to put on a Viking hat? Did you have to do anything that was Viking like?
There was no cosplay required.
Don't take this from me, Sheldon.
Required, sir. There was no cosplay required. There may have been some blood curdling screams in the pit as we play tested stuff.
It has been a while since I've made a request of the Star City Games video production team. I would like them to insert, at a time of their choosing, an image that they could create of you in Viking cosplay playing Magic.
Right.
It's my request. I don't ask a lot, folks. Thank you. So what was it like? I mean, Strixhaven, I'm sure will be this is something that obviously I don't want you to reveal stuff that violates your NDA, but what can you tell us that is appropriate, that's exciting, that's kind of interesting? Add a little something to the proceeding here about the hype of Strixhaven. Then.
Yeah, well, Strixhaven is
Kaldheim.
Strixhaven is subtitled School of Mages.
Yeah.
But the real big thing is this is not Harry Potter.
I'm sure.
It's like nowhere close to Harry Potter. In fact, for me, the world building was insanely good. It was better than Harry Potter. I find Harry Potter to be, and this is not a criticism so much as where it doesn't resonate for me, a little cartoonish. Right.
Especially early.
Especially early. It's definitely targeted at a younger audience, so I get it. I mean, I understand it. Yeah. It's just like I said, it's where it doesn't firmly connect with me. I just want my fiction to have more gravitas all the time.
You want your Quidditch match scoring to be grounded in some sort of actual balance and reality?
Yeah, no.
If you get this ball and you go over here and you do all this other stuff, and then you catch the ball here and then you do this other stuff, and then somebody else catches the snitch, you lost.
Well, Quidditch is just Calvin ball on brooms, right?
Yeah, it really is Calvin ball on brooms.
So
anyway,
so
more on Strixhaven.
Strixhaven is definitely not grimdark.
Right.
It's a dangerous world full of stunning possibility. And it was a great experience to be in the middle of. Because what's cool, and I don't think I'm talking out of school here, that one of the first things you get with a new set is a vision design. It's like a world building design document from the creative people. So you get immersed in the flavor of the world building, which may change some during the process, but you get immersed in it before you ever think about designing cards. Right.
I mean, that sounds compelling and fun. And look, they had already done the Tolarian, all the school, they've done magic schools before. Nobody can legitimately say well, you just came up with this idea because J.K. No,
right?
I mean, they first of all, J.K. Rowling didn't come up with that originally, and secondly, Wizards' use of schools and Wizards learning the sort of thing predates the Harry Potter phenomenon. So, I'm sure whatever they came up with this particular set is different both from J.K. Rowling and from what they've done before.
Yes.
So that's good. Anything you want to share about the Norse, the Viking inspired, maybe not Norse inspired, but maybe the Viking inspired world that you also worked with, or can you not share anything on that?
Yeah, I can't really say anything besides the fact that they're, well, like most Magic sets, cool new mechanics that you're gonna love.
Okay, all right, that's fine. We can move on if you want. We can do that. Fair enough. Well, okay, so then speaking then of all these dangerous worlds and stunning possibilities that you mentioned, let's talk about Zendikar Rising. Where do you want to start?
Oh, everywhere, man.
Yeah.
Are you? I'm thoroughly excited.
This looks good.
Yeah, I mean, it picks up in the spirit of the original Zendikar minus the Eldrazi, and
right.
I think what I want to talk about is the feel. Right? Everybody and their brother is going to be talking about cards. You and I will talk about cards over the next couple of weeks.
Right. Yeah.
But more so than in the last few sets, I think there's a better story feel, a coherent story feel in here.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It looks like it's more character driven. I've reviewed the site and I've seen the little movie and all the other things and checked out the story, which was, it was nice. I liked it. Probably it looks like they're paying at least as much attention to this for the first time since Ixalan, I want to say. They spent a little bit, they kind of gave a little dash of what they could maybe do in the future with Throne of Eldraine. I like how they did that too. But it's the first time since Ixalan where I sort of felt like they were really investing in people that could help them tell the story. War of the Spark completed a story arc, and that was fine. But by then, a lot of people were really upset with kind of things they had done with certain characters and how they kind of really didn't do good continuity. And, it looked like it was a bit of a mess as it all, came to a head. Here, it looks like they're like, okay, we get it. We kind of screwed up. Let's go back to some of the things that work. We want you all to be able to identify with some of the characters, to be able to find yourself somewhere in this cast, to be able to think about yourselves as these planeswalkers that can be part of this world and doing these, amazing feats. Yeah. And that's really nice. I like that. I know we're going to talk a little bit more about the absence, say, of a central antagonist, and things like that. I also think that's a good positive development, or at least a refreshing change, right?
Yeah.
So there's that as well. But boy, Zendikar, I make fun sometimes, the re-Therosing, the re-Zendikaring, whatever. I like going back to worlds. My little throwaway lines about going back a second or third time should not. I'm not sick of them. I like the world of Theros. I like the world of Zendikar, and I like going back to this one.
You and a bunch of other Magic fans, to include me, right? We like the revisits, and we like being tied back to previous stories. Like in your D&D game when when a former player character shows up as an NPC 10 game years down the road or whatever. You think it's, like, oh, right, I remember that guy. Or even an NPC from 10 game years ago shows up. So we love things that tie together our stories. So it's natural that when we have a resonant set like Innistrad and it comes back, we think it's really cool. And Zendikar was certainly a resonant set. Now, you can't talk about Zendikar without talking about landfall. And from what we've seen so far, lands are really important.
Yeah, you take this, the royal and all the things that are happening in the lands, and then you see it come right away onto the cards that have been spoiled, which is, as we speak, the entire set. Wizards has officially spoiled the entire set. They revealed it, the entire set.
Yeah.
That's just that lands are super important.
Anything about anything about the modal DFCs that confuses you?
I'm not super confused. I guess I just want to confirm some things. Like I get what they are. I gather there's a primary side and a secondary side. And I think that's what's going to be most confusing to most people. Like, obviously, when it's in my hand, I can choose. I can go, okay, I'm going to do this side. That's not confusing. And when it's on the stack, I'm going to know what it is. And when it's in the player, when it's resolved, I'm going to know what it is. Some people, I think, may need a bit of a primer on what like happens. If it's sitting in your graveyard, let's say you've done the land, you've brought back the land, you've recast it as a sorcery, it's sitting in your graveyard. I think people may not realize that it turns, my understanding is that it reverts back to being a land card in your graveyard.
Well, the front face, which is clearly marked on the card, is always the front face in other zones. So in the graveyard, in your library, in your hand, the card is always the front face of the card. So if you need information off the card, that's where you look. And I think the thing that's going to happen is when if you're playing this in a draft or something, and you play the backside, then you shuffle up for game 2. You're like, oh, and you draw your hand. You're like, oh, I drew this, but I don't want to let Anthony know that I am. Now
and so we come to the sleeving aspect of these cards, which is look. I mean, Wizards should still do them. This is not a criticism at all. But this is the players just need to be. This falls on the players. We need to be conscientious when we finish a game. If we play both sides of a card or the flip side of a card or whatever we want to call it, the second face, that we gotta get things back together. And if you don't want to reveal that information, then you better flip it back. And also, if you just don't want to confuse yourself, you don't want to waste a lot of time. It does create a bit of manual dexterity. I wonder to what extent. I know that Wizards cares a great deal about accessibility, and I do sometimes worry that in making people who may be less able to take cards, do the fine motor skills of pulling a card out, flipping it over, and stuff like that. Obviously, they don't really have. I'm sure there'll be the cards that they normally have, right? That you can just play with the Magic side, regular back card back on one, so that you can still do that. And maybe you can play without sleeves, or you can do something else, or play that with the sleeve and then have the thing on the side.
Well, I think I thought I saw something.
There's ways to do it.
I think I thought I saw something about helper cards.
Yeah, I hope they do that. I think they will.
Like the old checklist cards for the original DFCs. I think they're going to have those as well. I passed by something that I think we'll do some research on that. I think that really the idea is that it's about mitigating the DFCs, especially with the lands, are about mitigating one of the game's problems, and that's mana screw, mana flood.
It's great at that. I that's the thing that to me is probably one of the most exciting things, is that I know this is one of those the people who design the game at Wizards are just so conscientious about what people are having fun about the game and what they aren't having fun about the game. And this, what I've seen about this set anyway, and I haven't played it, obviously nobody outside of Wizards has played it yet, but I can visualize what this is going to be like to be able to put things like in Commander decks. We've recently had some fun discussions with some of our colleagues about like how many lands are the right number to have in a deck, and I know that it's fun to be able to think about being able to put fewer lands in a deck, or the same number of lands but with more capacity. Because of cards like this. Cycling allows us to do a little bit of this. Other things allow us to do these things. It still keeps the chance element in the game, but it smooths out the roughest edges. It smooths out the roughest parts of the variants, which is nice. Yeah,
I agree. So you made mention of the fact that we want to talk a little bit more about the story. And I am indeed a fan of the fact that there isn't a big bad in Zendikar, that the Eldrazi. I mean, having an arch villain in a set or a TV show is sometimes, to me, writing on easy mode, right? Banding together to defeat the Eldrazi or Nicole Bolas or space Nazis can be a compelling story, but I like the struggle between people, well-drawn people being the primary conflict.
Yeah, and again, I'm not promoting anything. These books came out a long time ago. They're difficult to find, and I wouldn't blame viewers for not trying to find them. But when my wife and I wrote a series together, we started off with a protagonist, and it looked like there was a very clear antagonist, and it turned out that was not the case. And then over the course of 6 books, we sort of explored. At one point, we told the story. We exploded it off of the primary protagonist, and every single character we had introduced for the first 3 books had pretty much an equal share of the fourth book.
Uh-huh.
And with the idea being that each of these people that you've gotten to know, dear reader, is really like they're a human being. I mean, you care about them. We're not the only authors to do this. Lots of authors do this, and it's satisfying to do. Mm-hmm. That to me is really world building, right? I mean, it's fun to build worlds where, like, you know, two suns and like the tides or whatever. Fine, but world building, when you're talking about the world most people live in, involves other people or other characters, and it's really satisfying to dig into why characters may have come to the point where you thought they were a villain back in back in chapter 1. Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things I
really like this.
It's one of the things I like about what Martin does in Game of Thrones, right? Especially early on, he takes fantasy novel tropes, introduces them, lets you assume some things. Yep. And then he takes the tropes and stands them on their head. Yeah. And that's really cool. So, quick digression. Yep. Who's your favorite arch villain in a movie or TV series?
Pretty much Magneto from the X-Men comics and movies.
Fine answer.
You know,
Fine answer.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, to me, and again, because in his mind, he isn't a villain.
Sure.
He knows he's going hard to the hoop,
right?
But he's willing to sacrifice other people,
right?
And even occasionally mutants to get what he. But he really has this vision of like, this is just evolution. We're gonna be okay, folks. If and if you don't follow what I'm saying, it's gonna be way worse for everybody.
Yeah.
And so he does this with this true, I mean, he's truly wounded and he's truly, sick, and he's truly, a villain, but at the same time, he doesn't come at it. And I don't want to criticize the Thanos character, but I mean, Thanos was a little too, I'll destroy half the universe kind of thing. I think in Magneto's case, it's more of the real backstory and why he was the way it is. It's so easy to understand how somebody could get into his shoes and do the things he does.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm a big believer that Ralph Macchio was the villain of Karate Kid.
Maybe of the TV series, more recent TV series follow-up, but no.
There's a reading.
The wax. There's nothing sinister in wax on, wax off.
There's a legitimate reading of Karate Kid where he is the antagonist, not the protagonist.
This is the problem with English majors.
And if you start, right? If you start, because the movie seems to be a series of actions by the blonde-haired kid and reactions by Ralph Macchio. Yeah. And if you start the other way, if you start with actually in the early scene, Ralph Macchio goes back after Johnny is his name, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Ralph Macchio goes back after him in the original encounter on the beach, unprompted. Like, he doesn't need to. It could have stayed there. So if you take that as the inciting action, then he is the villain of Karate Kid.
Well, he won. So congratulations to the villain.
Right. I mean, to be serious, David Tennant was amazing and frightening in Jessica Jones. Season 1 of Daredevil should have just been called Fisk.
So good. So good. Yeah. No, I agree that how what a shame what happened with Netflix and the Marvel. It just seems like I hope they find some way to, especially those actors. I know there's other people who work very hard on TV series, the producers and the set designers and all the other people, but so many aspects of that's tough to do in a TV show. They were part of that TV, the more recent era of the TV revolution you and I were talking about, in a previous episode, where people don't go from TV to movies as much as want to go from movies to TV. And that kind of show is the reason why. That shows that they did it, and they did it with 4 different characters. Well, I don't know if Iron Fist was as good, but they did it with 3. But I really liked what they did with Luke Cage and with Jessica Jones and with Daredevil. 3 very different feeling TV shows from different and allowed voices, a diversity of voices.
Yep.
And, really heard the woman's perspective and the Black American's perspective and how they relate to different things. And then, yes, to have these villains in each of the shows do a great job. Yeah, Fisk, David Tennant's character and Fisk was just
D'Onofrio. Yeah, that's so. Back to Zendikar Rising. What have you seen so far that you're most excited about?
Well, red is lit. I mean, just the color red
Finally.
is just. I mean, I don't know. Like you look at the mythics and you go, woo, but I gotta like I look up and down that color and it just looks strong.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other stuff in other colors too, but I'm just having trouble. The flashiest cards that are getting my attention. This isn't true of every set. I really am normally drawn to, just about it. Well, the gold cards, like I like the mixtures of things, the big splashy stuff. But honestly, just the mythic dragon, the repeated, the minotaur that repeats combat phases. I mean, these are the things that, I'm slotting these things. I already know right away. I glance at the deck. I'm not even done a third of the card. I know exactly what deck it's going into,
right?
Or what I want to do on a deck of its own.
So are you gonna open Zendikar Rising at first available opportunity for EDH Boxing League?
Yeah, I mean, if it's available, yes. I actually have started the idea in my own internal group of doing one. Starting with Zendikar Rising, I guess I'm gonna have to buy a few extra packs. What I might do is just buy 6 extra packs and throw it into the deck, depending on how long our league goes, which I assume is long enough for us to do this.
Yeah, my plan is to go about 10 weeks, and maybe that'll give us the right amount of time.
Yeah.
To not get into having boosters get so expensive because you have to go so many sets back. Give us a few weeks off and then roll right into Commander Legends.
The Commander Legends. I agree. But I speak for yourself on the expensive packs. I just had a friend of mine who's going to go limited only in our group. And so he sold off his collection. He has this sealed box of Morningtide, an almost full box of Lorwyn.
Nice.
Extra pack. I mean, so I'm like, I'm fine for a while, guys. I can go a few extra weeks more than I thought.
Right. Nice.
But no, in all seriousness, I think somewhere along the lines of 8 to 10 weeks, I think feels about right for me for a boxing league. And Zendikar Rising, I would just do it I don't need to optimize anymore. I've gotten my Cons of Tarkir packs, and I opened well. War of the Sparking Cons of Tarkir have given me the okay, let's make your deck, let's refine your deck moments. Now I'll just take it in whatever crazy direction. Maybe it gets a new commander. Maybe the white-red. Maybe I get some white-red commander and I go off in a different direction.
Right.
Make a whole new deck. That'd be something that'd be kind of fun to do.
All right, last question on this, which I asked Toby on the last episode of Command Chair, and you can easily guess his answer. You have to pick one for Zendikar Rising: set booster, draft booster, collector booster.
Well, if availability isn't an issue, set booster. But I've tried to grab set booster and I can't get it locally.
Really?
So I got to go with draft booster because that's what I can actually get. Yeah, I think Wizards needs to, if they're going to do things like this, they need to make them more available. Set boosters are sold out locally. I can't get them. I could go the internet. I probably will, but I'm a little bummed that I can't.
Well, you want to support your LTS. Well, as you said, the whole set is going to be revealed by the time this episode airs. So you can trust we will have even more complete coverage for what it means to the Commander community. But for now, let's move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Magic is about the gathering. And here on Commander Community, we do like to recognize those who go above and beyond in making the gathering worth it.
This week's Community Contributor of the Week is Dave Kozin. In addition to being a relatively new writer for Cool Stuff Inc., Dave is a certified personal trainer and wellness coach who's been helping out a bunch of folks in the community.
Yeah, in stressful times like these, we could use all the help we can get. And Dave is a close friend of a CAG member and friend of the show, Olivia Gobert-Hicks. And she has repeatedly testified as to what a fantastic person he is. And I would probably believe him anyway, but I certainly believe him now that she is backing him up. And so the online testimonials match as well. He's got a great reputation. He's doing great stuff out there. I follow him as well, and I really love what he has to say. He's a good, thoughtful, positive contributor, and usually speaks in terms that a lot of people don't speak. In our community, I don't want to fall into stereotypes, but we also, we often have this sort of a nerd feel, right? The glasses and stay indoors and play the game and everything, and not really get out there and stay in shape and work on the physical. And what I really appreciate about what he offers, and Olivia offers this as well. There's lots of people who do, but what we're talking about Dave this week, and what Dave offers is the opportunity to put the two together. There's the mind and the body. And sometimes being at your best mentally involves, doing what you can for yourself physically.
Yeah. I met Dave in person in Reno at the last in-person Magic event in the history of the world. And can verify, just a really, just a good egg. You get that sense when you're in his presence that this is a good human being. That
he is.
That he's kind and he's giving, and at the same time, he's no nonsense. He's not going to put up with bullcrap from people. Especially when they start spewing hate, he's going to stand right up in their face.
Yeah, he's a good advocate
and take them to task. Yeah. So we appreciate Dave's effort to make the Commander community happier and healthier, which is what has earned him the spot as our community contributor of the week.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. So, as if it were an insight foreshadowing of adventures in the Forgotten Realms, Zendikar Rising introduces the concept of the party.
Yeah.
The partay, if you will.
Yeah.
A full partay consists of a warrior, a rogue, a wizard, and a cleric. Creature types that we should all be familiar with by now.
Yeah, I keep trying to think about what's the best order, like rhythmically, when you say the four character types, which way is the best way to say it? I mean, you've got 15 options there, right? So so warrior, wizard, cleric, rogue, I think rolls off the tongue better. But it's like having the D&D red box all over again, right?
It is.
Now, you play D&D regularly.
I do.
When was the last time you actually had a balanced party?
In design or in practice?
Right.
I mean, whether I've been the DM or whether I've been a player in the group, and we switch off. And I generally only play at this point. I only play a summer campaign when my son's home and some of his friends are home. And but I used to play year round. In all those times when we would have it, we would always try to balance the party. And I think depending on who's playing what role, there's certain players that just shouldn't try to be the cleric.
Okay.
Right? They just shouldn't. And frankly, it's true of all of them. But when you have somebody who loves playing a rogue and you ask them to play a cleric, or you ask them to play some sort of supportive party leader style role because somebody else wants to be the rogue this time, or somebody else wants to have fun with that particular character, it's always like, well, why don't we all be rogues? Like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess we could do that this year. We could try that,
right.
and so it's been a while. I would say there was a point where I was, I think I played a fighter, and my daughter played a cleric style. She does that very well. And my son was the DM, and we had a bunch of other people who were kind of taking it somewhat. They took their role somewhat seriously. So I'd put it at a good 2 years since then. Last year, we didn't have a good balanced party.
When I set up a game, party balance is just not important, right? Yeah. The thing we start with is a session where I've sent out 4 or 5 saga setups.
Right.
And then the players and I work together on, okay, which one of these stories do we want to tell? Which one of these avenues do we want to explore? And then we sit together and create characters. Not I bring a character. It's that we sit together and talk about what kind of characters. Now, obviously, people are going to go, I haven't played a tank in 5 years. I want to do that. But as a GM, I don't really care what the party consists of. We'll make the campaign work. We'll make the saga work based on what story we're going to tell. So we sit together, and one thing I do is that any player has veto rights over any element of the other player's characters. So you have to really be playing with people who care about playing a game together, right? This is definitely a collaborative thing. But hey, I don't think that's going to work. Or if one person shows up, you remember those days in 1984 when one player showed up and said, "I'm playing the paladin," and another player showed up and said, "I'm playing the assassin," and the thing devolved from the beginning. Right. So that first session is about working together as players to develop a reason why this group of characters is together in the first place.
So critical. And why are they even there?
And why are they even there? And what's going to keep them together in the second place?
Yeah.
So the common goal, whatever that common goal might be, becomes a thing that we sit and talk about. So if
it's like a rule zero for Dungeons and Dragons,
right? If everybody wants to play fighters, but there's no healing, fine. I'll figure out a way to get them healing, right? Whether it's an NPC healer or a common thing. I mean, my campaign is relatively low magic, so healing, fighting too much is bad anyway,
right?
And healing takes a long time. You can't just drink a potion of healing and recover your HPs. So you need to work on it. I would just provide a method of getting them healing, right? That there's there's a hospital equivalent that they can go to along the way, or whatever it is. Just those are small details, and making the story
berries
work.
In the bushes. Yeah.
The story is the more important thing. So the details of the mechanics are definitely the fungible part.
Yeah. It also the alignment discussion is usually something this past year, we had a couple of the characters, and I get it. They want to be the one that, oh, really, this whole time I was really something else. It's like, okay. And my character played a very honest, saving the town kind of, grew up in a traumatized sort of background and was finally getting the opportunity to kind of work out some of her demons, sometimes literally, and kind of protect the town that she grew up in and has been threatened all this time. And to just have a couple characters that had bigger agendas and kept them from the other players and stuff, it was like, okay, I guess. I mean, like, everybody should get the chance to play the way they want to play, and I feel like I'm glad we had some of the conversations we have conversations similar to what you've described at the start. But I will say that, like, it feels more satisfying when you have people like that want to stick together for a reason. Yeah. There were a couple moments where where my character, not me as a player, my character abandoned the party because it's like, I have no reason to stick around with you people. I don't trust you. Like, and so she would just leave, and she was their shield. She was their meat shield, and she was like, I don't trust you, and she'd leave as they started to betray or started to pursue their own agendas in the middle of a fight. She'd be like, done. And everybody's like, what are you doing? I'm like, figure it out. You want to follow your own agenda, follow your own agenda. And it was just sort of a helpful reminder to everybody as to what keeps the story together is that idea that these characters have to genuinely have motivations that make them stay together. And so, the idea of this ensemble cast is not every Magic game is going to have to do this, of course. When you put these four parties together, they're together because you put them in your deck. But the world that we're talking about, the world of Zendikar, The storyline, I don't know if you've read it, but has Nissa and Nahiri together for a portion of it, and then not. And there's motivation and there's reasons. And when one of them acts in a way that the other disagrees with, then the party's done.
Yeah, but I mean,
we go in a different direction.
In a medium like a novel, you can do that.
Yeah.
In the medium of the RPG, of the in-person RPG, that's a lot tougher because you want. I mean, the idea of the ensemble is to continue along, and if suddenly it becomes a bogged down game if you've got 4 players going off in 4 different directions because then. They, each of them needs their screen time, and you need to follow their adventure, and it becomes really problematic. So we stuck together pretty well. I generally make sure that we design it so it would have to be pretty extreme for a player to wander off. Yeah.
And we didn't, and we always resolved within the space of a session or two. Like we didn't, this was not anything where it was like just gone forever kind of thing, but it was like just a helpful reminder, like, okay, so your character has acted in a way that this character no longer is present. How are you going to draw it all back together? How are we going to accomplish what are still some common objectives? There is still a threat that goes beyond the one town to the world beyond. How are you going to do that? So it was still satisfying. I still enjoyed myself tremendously. But I think sometimes it's just helpful to keep in mind those what we'll call rule zero conversations before the session are a fabulous idea. And something that people should do in both games, honestly. So
you brought up the term ensemble cast, right? And that's basically what a party is. So you can't pick Lord of the Rings. What nerdcore work has your favorite team?
I think from it's either Firefly or Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, fair.
I really like, and part of it's the writing, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of it is just that there was growth in most of the characters in Firefly over a very short period of time.
Sure.
In Buffy's case, over a longer period of time as to what each of them offered. I even remember, like for Buffy, I thought when you first asked this, I was going to say Firefly. Now that I think about it, I think Buffy the Vampire Slayer's probably got the better because it gave them more time to evolve, and you had people who were just Buffy's helper, like Xander or Willow, who over time realized that they had their own personalities, and they used those character roles to develop as persons. There were entire arcs and episodes about just them, about how they felt inadequate, because it's like, am I just here to be Buffy's pal? And you're not, and you're not the supporting star in somebody else's story. You are your own person, and I really liked that. That they did that with the characters.
It's not lost on me that those are both Joss Whedon properties that you mentioned.
Yeah. No, he did excellent work early on this sort of thing, and the man has flaws. We've seen
all of us do.
But at the same time, what he provided to the generation that grew up, the millennials that were growing up to that stuff, the Xers that were enjoying early adulthood, and I'm sure boomers and others that were watching this stuff and enjoy it too. Just sort of offering a new way of telling a story that I think has become far more quickly adopted in our culture than we realize. Like just like that, the way a lot of things got scripted and produced and done changed, not overnight, but pretty quickly.
Is there a warrior, wizard, cleric, rogue analog in your party?
Well, I mean, I think for the Buffy, she's always, she essentially is the meat shield,
right?
Right? Like she's the fighter. She does such a strong job. Nothing can warrior, I should say. And I think that the wizard eventually was Willow, and the cleric, you could make an argument that it was her mentor. Why am I blanking on his name? Giles, thank you. You can make the that is, and the rogue was whatever vampire happened to be allied with them in that moment, whether it was Angel or Spike or different parts of the story. They were different. So I think there are analogs and different. Obviously, it was more complex than that, and Xander and other people played roles, but yeah.
Oh, that's fair.
How about yourself? You've got your own
Yeah,
series of favorites.
I actually had to spend some time thinking on this too. I think maybe I'm gonna go with the women who run the life of Randall Thor in Wheel of Time. So
Okay.
Moiraine, Min, Avienda, and Elaine are
Okay.
an insanely cool team. But
Yeah.
I don't think, and just ridiculously well written characters. I don't think that there's direct correlation to the character types there.
Right.
They're because they're all wizards. Well, Avienne is a fighter, but they're mostly just wizards. For more direct correlation to the four types, I think I'll take Ciri, Yennefer of Vengerberg, Triss Marigold, and Kira Metz from the Witcher series.
Okay.
Ciri is clearly the warrior. Yen, although she's a sorceress, she's definitely got the cleric feel to her. Triss is the wizard, and Kira is definitely, despite also being magically powered, is definitely the rogue.
Right. It's about more than the powers, right? Like both of these TV series, both of these properties teach us is that it's about the attitude, right? The attitude. You don't have to actually have a holy healing spell to be a cleric. You have to have you're adopting that sort of responsibility for the party's well-being.
Yeah.
That comes naturally to clerics, and you don't have to. The rogue is usually the person that's a little bit. Am I with this group or am I not with this group?
Yeah.
And it offers a little bit of that energy. So,
and speaking of Witcher, I just started a replay, maybe 2 months ago or so, of Witcher 3, and I discovered that the character Dandelion, the bard, is just I remember that he's just as annoying in the game as the character is on the TV show.
Yeah. Okay.
Like 100%.
It's good when we can rediscover eternal truths, right?
Right. So bringing us back around to what we're actually talking about, the party in Commander. What's your take?
Well, I like it. I think there'll be some confusion. A lot of people will just throw changelings on the table and assume they've got it all figured out. I gotta say I'm not a big fan of that idea. I'm not totally opposed to throwing a changeling in a commander deck, especially if you need to balance. If you have way too many, you don't have a lot of clerics, but you have a ton of, the other three or whatever the case may be. I get doing that, but if you're just doing it because, hey, look, it's really clever to put 60 changelings in a deck and then whatever 4 creatures I have out of our party.
Yeah.
I guess sure, and if talk to your group about it, and if they enjoy that kind of play, then enjoy it. I won't, but that's just one person.
I think I'm okay with adding, like your fourth element is a changeling, right? If you're going black-white and you're really missing a wizard in your black-white deck, throwing in mirror entity to be the wizard is fine.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm talking. Yeah. If you're adding it, it's almost like if you're doing a recipe. If you're adding it as a spice, as an element in the dish, then fine. But if you're basing the whole thing, if you're trying to use, if you're trying to use, parsley as protein, I guess.
So speaking of clerics and black-white, looks like they're pushing that archetype pretty hard in this set. Not going to get an argument from me. I own the original. Yeah. I own the original art to Rotlang Reanimator. So it's probably was it the first? The first art I ever had was a gift.
Yeah.
From Kev Walker.
Okay.
After a particularly long night of imbibement and entertainment in London.
Yeah.
I don't know, 1999 or 2000 or 1998 or something like that. Kev gave me the original art of Ovinomancer.
Wow.
But I think Rotlang Reanimator, which is Tom Baxapiece, might be the first thing that I acquired for myself.
Right.
So it's probably time for me to build black-white clerics just for the flex factor.
Yeah.
And then either like when Rotlang Reanimator's on the table, go get the painting and put it under the camera. And so it made me look up what clerics there are outside of black and white, and there are only 34, if you don't count changelings, there are only 34 in Magic. So what's your favorite?
So Harsh Mentor is a cleric, right?
Harsh Mentor is definitely a cleric.
It's a red cleric, which is kind of and I like the way that it expresses, and it was really well done for Amonkhet. It was really well in terms of like the idea of I'm doing this for your own good. You know, this is how you're going to learn. And it's kind of neat. I've had it in a few of my decks. I would have to say, if you're taking me off black and white and asking me to say what do I start with in a lot of red deck designs, it doesn't always make it past the first month or so of playing it, but it still sticks in a couple of my decks. I would say Harsh Mentor is my favorite cleric. Then
Harsh Mentor is a 2-mana red 2/2 cleric, and whenever an opponent activates the ability of an artifact, creature, or land, if it on the battlefield, so cycling doesn't count. Right. If it's not a mana ability, Harsh Mentor deals 2 damage to them.
Yeah.
I think this is a fine card, something that I would definitely want to put in. My pick here is going to be Vizier of the Menagerie.
Very nice.
Which is from the same block, and it's a 3/4 for 4, and you can look at the top card of your library anytime you want. Boop. Boop.
I just did right now.
Yeah.
I just looked at the top card of my library right now.
And you can cast the top card of your library as long as it's a creature spell. And you can spend any kind of mana to do it. To cast those creature spells. So this is,
awesome.
Vizier of the Menagerie is one of those effective card draw cards that it's not actual card draw, but it basically does the same thing, gives you access to an additional card.
Right.
So
what we're saying here, folks, is that just because you're not playing black white doesn't mean you can't do a party. Right. You can still have a party in your deck.
There are plenty of clerics. So I looked at my suite of decks, 55 of them and counting, to see if I had any full parties, and it turned out that I don't. Unless there's a deck with 4 changelings in it, but I'm talking about natively.
Intentionally defined parties.
Yeah, and mostly it's because I have a significant shortage of rogues. For some reason, I'm not playing them, and I don't really know why. I look down rogues, I'm like, but I think I'm going to have to change that because there's a pretty exciting rogue in Zendikar Rising. You want to tell our friends? You want to tell our friends about it?
So I hear, yes. Thieving Skydiver is a merfolk rogue. It costs 1 and blue, and it has Kicker X. It's a 2/1 creature with flying. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, you gain control of target artifact with converted mana cost X or less. If the artifact is an equipment, you just throw it right on the Skydiver. Yeah, this is... I was thinking about I was reading the script and you were talking about how you've gone through all your decks. I haven't gone through all my decks to find out about party. I imagine I don't, and I think it's for mostly the same reason. And this again, not a criticism. Rogues have not gotten the support yet. It's fine. Warriors have a commander that's all about warriors. We all so ever since Battle Bond, Warriors have been a huge thing, and I think we're already pretty well on their way.
Right.
Wizards have been since the dawn of time, and then you've got clerics where in Onslaught block where they did the first, and like you talked about Rotlung Reanimator and stuff. Those are cards that date back, and so white black is well developed territory for your clerics. Whereas rogues haven't really, since Lauren and Morningtide, there was that brief flirtation with them, a couple of those. But now with this, now what's going to happen is people are going to rediscover Lorwyn and Morningtide cards, and they're going to drop some stuff next to this thing, and it's probably blue-black, and it's going to be sick. It's going to be great. This thing is
now remember,
fantastic card.
Yeah, this is a fantastic card. I mean, everybody's talking about Sealing Sol Rings.
I guess, sure.
It only costs you 1.
Yeah.
People are talking about the Sword of Fire and Ice and Buddies.
The swords are
kind of insane because they only cost 3 to cast.
Right.
But remember, you can also gain control of an artifact or of an equipment that you already control just to get the equip effect.
Yeah.
So what's the 1 mana thing that the big maul that gives the creature +8/+8 or +10/+10?
But that doesn't fly, right?
Right, but it doesn't fly.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
+10/+10. Right. So boom,
they'll show it on the screen. They got our back. Star City Games has our back.
Right.
They'll show it.
The thing is, if you have an artifact that has an onerous equip cost compared to its mana cost,
right?
You just play this and you get the equip for the kicker, which is lower than the equip cost.
Of course. Yeah, no, it's a fantastic. There's lots of equipment. When they first Meriden came out, there's a bunch of equipment that had like equip 4, equip 3, equip 5 here and there. Like it's gonna like heart piercer. I'm gonna forget some of the things that came out. You unattach it to destroy a creature. There's all these different things out there that I sort of feel like can get re-explored. As being more practical in a deck with Thieving Skydiver. Bearing in mind in Commander, it's only one card. It can't be your commander. You can't rely on it just showing up. But what's nice about it is that it does give you an option and an answer to what happens when somebody tries to Voltron their way into your face. Or if you want to Voltron your way a little bit. I can't Voltron necessarily commander damage, but you can certainly do it just in terms of a one creature hitting for a lot of damage. I like it a lot. It explores. It's the kind of card for the explores lots of possibilities that you can do in your own deck. And it also manages to fit as a decent answer to what some other players might be doing in theirs. It's nice, great.
Yeah, design. Darksteel Plate only costs 2. Oh my god. Argentum armor. And granted, you got to pay a lot to get it initially, but it's less than you have to do to play it and then equip it. Right. I think well, there are going to be a bunch of equipments that are going to get stolen with this card.
Yeah.
After the Sol Ring, and then you blink the Skydiver and do it again.
Right. I think it's going to be important for those of us who play Magic Online. Yeah, for those who play Magic Online, I think we're going to have to get back and find the way to represent stolen things and borrowed things.
Infinite tokens.
Infinite tokens.
Yeah. And to be clear, blinking this doesn't work because you have to cast it and to pay the extra cost for kicker. Yeah. So, I think that clearly this is going to be a high impact card, but it's only one of the high impact cards of Zendikar Rising for Commander. So I think we probably answered this already during our chat. Thumbs up or thumbs down on the party mechanic?
Oh, definite thumbs up. And I think, and certainly I'm sure Wizards does this. They design these things knowing what's coming in advance. Whether it's the next 2 sets or whether we wait to Forgotten Realms, certainly more support is coming for the party mechanic. If it's coming right away, that's great. If I wait till next spring or summer, that's fine too. It's going to be good.
Is Eye of Vecna, Hand of Vecna Forgotten Realms, or is that Greyhawk?
No,
we need to look that up.
I'm pretty sure that's Forgotten Realms.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Hand.
I don't want somebody to. It's got such a foundational part of the game, and I played it when I was 13, and I can't for the life of me now on the spot remember which it is.
I'm pretty sure Wand of Orcus is Greyhawk.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
But now the mystery must be solved.
The mystery must be solved. You want to you go right on it. You go right on ahead. I'll say more about the party mechanic if you want to look that up on the spot. One of the things that I just know about this is that the party mechanic now, if people really enjoy it, to let Wizards know that you really enjoy the creature types and stuff. There's other ways to play with a party. One of the things that we know about Dungeons and Dragons is that it's not just limited to those 4 types. And so there's other types that I hope that they use this as an opportunity to say, well, what can we do with sorcerers? What can we do with, bards? What can we do with other creature types and other ways to integrate them into the game in ways that are kind of fun? So that you could do just like you do editions of Dungeons and Dragons, you can do editions of merging with the game of Magic. And so I'm excited to see where it goes long run. It doesn't need to be an evergreen sort of thing about parties, but I like that they're taking the time to explore it now.
Yeah,
So,
cool. All right. Well, there's plenty of work to be done in the Commander community, but unfortunately, it's time for us to wrap this episode. If you're watching on YouTube, please remember to follow, like, subscribe, and ring those bells. We would hate if Anthony's question finally got answered and you missed it.
You could miss that.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
You want to tell these folks where they can find you?
Yes. Please find me on Twitter at Anthony A. Alongi, or you can find me on Facebook at Anthony Alongi.
I'm on Twitter and Facebook by my name. That's Sheldon Menery. Please tune in to my other show, The Command Share, every Thursday here on Star City Games and on YouTube. Also is on Thursdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 2 p.m., which you'll be doing this afternoon, as a matter of fact. In the U.S., you can catch me on the Commander RC Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/Commander RC. Finally, on Sundays, you can find me right here writing about the best format in Magic history. As always, I'm Sheldon Menery.
And I'm Anthony Alongi. Thank you for sharing your community with us.